Okay, in this video I'm just going to quickly look at quadratic equations, which is the next step after the factorisation techniques that we've talked about in previous videos. Before I do the quadratic equations, let me just talk you through something that you probably are familiar with, but if you're not, it's something that is absolutely crucial to this whole concept, this whole method that I'm going to show you. If I give you two quantities and I say, can you please multiply any two quantities you like to get an answer of 0, then you can give me any combination of numbers you like, but it must be true that either the first number is 0, for example 0 times 3 is 0, 0 times 10 is 0, 0 times 7 is 0, 0 times minus 8 is 0, 0 times a quarter is 0, or if the first one's not 0, then it must be true that the second number must be 0. And that must always be true. Of course it is possible that they're both 0 as well, so you could have 0 times 0 is 0. So whenever you've got two things multiplied together to give an answer of 0, either the first one must be 0 or the second number must be 0, or both 0. You cannot have any combination of numbers which are not 0 multiplying to give an answer of 0. One of them has got to be 0, and we're going to make use of that fact in this next little technique. Okay, quadratic equations. So let's solve the following. Number 1. Okay, the first thing that you need for quadratic equations is a quadratic expression. So you've got to have x squareds. And when you have a quadratic expression, the key to this technique is to get equals 0 on one side. Okay, you must have equals 0, and we always get it in the order x squared, then x's. If we have a number like plus 7 or something, that would come next, equals 0. That is in the order that I want it. X squared, x's number, then 0 on the right hand side on its own. Once it's in that order, very simple, you say, can the left hand side factorise? If it can, you factorise it using the factorisation techniques that we've talked about in previous videos. Here, yes, there is a common factor of x, and that's the first thing you ask yourself, is there a common factor? Yes, there is. So take out the x times x gives you x squared, x times a positive 3 gives you plus 3x, x times plus 3 gives plus 3x. You leave the 0 exactly the same. So all I'm doing is I'm replacing x squared plus 3x with this, which is identical to it in its factorised format. So we get to there. Now what we've got is an example of one of these things over here. We have two things multiplied together. We've got the x and the bracket multiplying together to give an answer of 0. So if two things multiply together to give 0, then we make use of this logic. We say that either the first thing, which is just x, must be equal to nothing, or it must be true that the second thing, either the first thing was nothing or the second thing is nothing. So there's the first thing, x, here's the second thing, x plus 3 must be equal to 0. Either that is nothing or that is nothing. Got to be, or they're both nothing. Well, if you look at that, that is there telling you what x is as an answer. X must be equal to 0. That's the answer, that's the first answer. And as you'll see, x equals, take the plus 3 to the other side, you get 0 minus 3, there you get a second answer. So what we're actually getting at is a pair of answers for x. Two answers come out from this. And that's what you'll always get from quadratic equations. Because it's a power 2 equation, you'll actually have two answers coming out. Okay? So x equals 0 is the first answer, x equals minus 3 is the second answer. Okay. Let's try some more. Okay, what about this one then? X squared minus 16 is equal to 0. That's a quadratic equation. It's going to have two answers. Is it in the right format? Yes, it is. We've got x squared first. Now in this particular example, we've got no x's. No x's at all. But we do have a minus 16 number, and we do have equals 0. So even though we've got no x's, it's in the right format. X squared, alright, no x's, number equals 0. Perfect. Leave the equals 0 alone, factorise the left hand side. Okay, left hand side, is there a common factor? No. Next thing, is it the difference of two squared terms? Yes it is. That is the same as x squared minus 4 squared. So that will automatically become a bracket x minus 4, x plus 4. The difference of two squared terms, because the 16 is 4 squared. That's why you get the 4 and the 4 there and there. Okay, we've now got two brackets multiplied together to give an answer of 0. So we say either the first of them must be equal to 0, or the second of them must be equal to 0. So we're getting two little year 8 equations that are coming out now, which we can solve to find two separate x values. So this one here will be x equals, take the minus 4 to the other side, you get 0 plus 4, which is 4. Or x, leave it where it is, take the plus 4 to the other side, you get 0 minus 4. And there is the second answer. So 4 or minus 4 are the answers. Just a little note about this one here. Some of you might want to solve this equation in a slightly different way. Now, what I'm going to show you now is not the formal way of how to solve it, but it's a useful addition to your toolbox, because sometimes it is very useful to do this. For this one, you could have said, leave the x squared where it is and take the minus 16 to the other side, you get plus 16. So you get x squared equals 16. Then all you're going to do is square root it. You get x equals square root of 16 is 4. And you can see that's one of the answers. But technically, whenever you square root a number like 16, there are actually two answers, because plus 4 times plus 4 is 16, but also minus 4 times minus 4 is 16. So we show those two answers, if we're doing it this way, by putting a plus or minus in front of it. Okay, so you could have done it that way. Okay, but the proper way of doing it is to do it in this format, factorise, and then this leads to the two solutions. Okay, so there's a common factor one, there's a difference of two squares method one. Okay, if I make some space to do number 3. So let's have a look at number 3. How about this one then? For number 3, how about x squared minus 3x minus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, I'm going to solve that. Quadratic equation, there's going to be two answers. Is it in the right format? Yes. X squared, x's number equals 0. Fine. Don't need to do anything with that then. Next, leave the 0 as it is, and we need to factorise the left hand side. So factorising the left hand side, is there a common factor? No. Is it the difference of two square terms? No. Okay, is it going to be easy table method? 1x squared. Yes, it is going to be easy table method. Good. We can use the easy table method, which means we can go straight into a double bracket. If it's x squared, it's going to be x and x. To get the two numbers, we create a little times and plus table at the side. Minus 4 goes underneath the times, and minus 3 goes underneath the plus, like so. These two numbers, well, we find them by saying two numbers multiply together to give minus 4, and when you add them together, give minus 3. Minus 4 times a positive 1. Well, I'll just write it like this, I think. Minus 4 and plus 1. They're the two numbers. Multiply them together to give minus 4. Army method, add them together, it gives minus 3. So there you go. Minus 4 and plus 1. Or the other way around, doesn't matter. So there we go, we've factorised the left hand side. So the equation now reads bracket times bracket equals 0. So we can now say we have two things multiplied together to give an answer of 0. So either x minus 4, the first one, equals 0, or the second bracket, x plus 1, is equal to 0. This now gives us two separate answers for x. X will be equal to, take the minus 4 to the other side, you get plus 4. X equals, take the plus 1 to the other side, you get 0 minus 1 is minus 1. There you go. They are the two answers that work. You can check it if you want. For example, try x equals 4. 4 squared is 16. Take away 3 4s, so that's take away 12. 16 take 12 is 4. 4 take another 4. You do get an answer of 0, so it works. And minus 1 would likewise work as well. Okay, let's try number 4. This is the last of the basic ideas that I'm going to do with you in this little short video. For this one, I'm going to have a look at 6x squared plus x's minus 12 is equal to 0, and we've got to solve that quadratic equation. Okay, there's two answers because it's a power 2 equation. How do I find them? Well, x squared, x is number 0. It's in the right format. So we now try and factorise the left hand side. Is there a common factor? No. Is it difference of two squared terms? No. Is it easy table method with a 1x squared? No, it's 6x squared. So that obviously must mean that we must use the final hard factorisation technique that I showed you in a previous video. Which means that I have to do the following. I leave the 6x squared alone, and I'm going to rewrite the plus x as two amounts of x, one after another. How do I find out what those two are? Well, if you remember, I do a little times and plus sign at the side. Very similar to this method I've just done on the easy table method. This, if you like, is the hard table method for hard examples. And to get the times sign this time, it's not just minus 12 on the end. It's going to be 6, the number of x squared. 6 times minus 12 is negative 72. And then it is the number of x's which are underneath the plus sign. Well, it's plus 1x. Plus 1x, so plus 1. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together to give minus 72. Well, they must also add up to give plus 1. Well, I know that 9/8, because I know my tables, 9/8 is 72. So I'm going to give a positive 9 multiplied by a negative 8. They give minus 72, and they do add up to give plus 1. So the two numbers that I'm looking for are plus 9 minus 8. Now, when I was doing this method, those were the numbers I just put into two brackets. This is slightly different. Instead, plus 9 minus 8, I'm going to write plus 9x minus 8x, like so. So I replace the plus 1x underneath with plus 9x minus 8x. They are the same as the plus 1x. Minus 12, leave it alone, and equals 0. Leave that alone. Okay, next, take the first two terms, common factor. I think there's a 3 and an x as a common factor. Okay, 3x times something gives you 6x squared. It must be 2x. 3x times plus 3 gives you plus 9x. So there's the first step. Now we take the second two terms and we do the same sort of thing. We take out a common factor. But remember, once we've already got this bracket here, 2x plus 3, you know automatically that the second bracket we're going to get must also be a 2x plus 3. So if you know that, it now becomes really simple to figure out what the common factor is. Well, obviously there's a 4 that's in both, but I can also take out the minus 4 from both. So minus 4 times the 2x gives you minus 8x. Minus 4 times plus 3 gives you minus 12. Leave the equals 0 alone. We've now got two really nasty looking terms, and they have a common factor between them of 2x plus 3. 2x plus 3 is in both of them, so common factor 2x plus 3 from both of those. What's left goes inside a second bracket. So I've got the bracket times something gives you this first term. Well, it must be the 3x. I've got a bracket times something gives you this nasty looking term there. It must be negative 4. That times negative 4 gives you that. And then leave the equals 0 alone. Okay. And I just point something out here. I've just got a small error I need to correct here. When I'm doing this equation, what I'm saying is that that is equal to 0. So that means this is equal to 0. So I don't need the equal signs going down the side. I should not have been putting those equal signs in. So that is equal to 0. That means that is equal to 0. Which means that is equal to 0. Which means that is equal to 0. And so therefore I can say that either 2x plus 3, the first bracket, equals 0, or I've got 3x minus 4, the second bracket, equals 0. Because I've got two things multiplied together to give 0, it must be true that either that is 0 or that is 0. It's got to be if they multiply to give 0. Well, solving this year 8 equation, leave the 2x alone, you get 0 minus 3, which is minus 3, share by 2, you get your first answer, x is minus 3 over 2. Second answer, 3x, leave it alone, take the minus 4 over, becomes a plus 4. Share by 3, x will be equal to 4 over 3, 4/3. And leave the answer like that. And there you go. There are your two solutions. And that there is just about as hard a quadratic equation as you're going to come across that actually factorises. I'm going to finish off this little section of work by doing a question 5, which always catches people out, and you need to be aware of it. It's actually really simple. So question 5, very quickly. Sometimes you'll be given something like this to solve, and lots of people make a complete hash of something which is really simple. So number 5, you might be asked to solve this. 3x minus 8, 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now that's actually a quadratic equation. Even though there's no x squareds visible, it's quadratic. How do I know it's quadratic? Well, if I was to actually multiply the two brackets out, first times first, first times second, second times first, second times second, and simplify it, I would actually get x squareds appearing. And that tells me it's a quadratic equation, and that tells me that there are two solutions. However, what you shouldn't do, which is what most students are tempted to do, is actually start multiplying it out. Because that's the gut feeling, you want to multiply or expand out the brackets. But we don't do that. We don't do that because if you look at it, it's already actually in the factorised format. We don't need to multiply it out. If you were to multiply it out, what you'd have to do then is refactorise it, and you'd end up back there. So we don't need to multiply it out. Don't expand it out. We have got the exact format I want. It's already factorised for me. So I can go straight in and say that either 3x minus 8 is equal to 0, or the second bracket must be equal to 0, because I've got two things multiplied together to give 0. One of them has got to be 0. So this means that if you leave the 3x alone, take the minus 8 over, you get 0 plus 8, 8. Share by 3, there's the first answer, 8/3. This one here, leave the 2x alone, take the plus 1 over, you get 0, minus 1, you get minus 1. Share by 2, you get your answer, minus a half, and there's the second solution. That question there comes up quite a lot, and it's really simple, but it catches so many people out all the time because they want to multiply it out. Don't. It's already factorised, therefore you can immediately go and say either or to get your two solutions. Okay, that's the end of this basic factorisation and quadratic equation video.